Hello, everyone, and welcome to this beautiful Thursday, wherever you are joining us from on Adobe Live. My name is James Bonanno, and today I am joined by a very special guest who you all know and probably love, Kladi. Kladi, welcome back to Adobe Live.
Hello, James. So nice to see you again. Very happy to be here and swap roles with you. Feels great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the best things about this community is we continue to swap. We have guests, hosts, all different creatives. But for those that are not familiar with who Kladi is, which is hard to believe, Kladi is a professional designer, mentor, and speaker, speaks at conferences all around the world. So we'll definitely dive into that a little bit here in a minute. But for those that are new to this sort of format, welcome to Behance, if that's where you're joining us from. If you're on YouTube, make sure to join the Adobe Live community, subscribe to all the channels, follow us over on Adobe Live on Instagram for the latest streams, updates, and more. There's tons of goodies, so make sure to stick around for that. But yeah, Kladi, why don't we get kind of started here? For those that do not know who you are and are new to the format, why don't you give us a little introduction of who you are professionally, some of your work, and just kind of dive into what we're going to be working on in the next hour and a half here today.
Absolutely. And thank you for the amazing intro. So my name is Kladi. I'm an Italian designer based in Manchester, UK, where I love and I'm passionate to work with the amazing Creative Cloud. I try to use as many apps as possible. I have a design studio called Studio Printmysoul that I launched about 10 years ago. Things are evolving, let's just leave it like that. But I'm really excited to be here. I do a lot of courses, I do a lot of mentoring, a lot of speaking engagements around the world. And I'm so excited to be here with you because I will be showing you and revealing you a little bit of my behind the scene about the speaking part. So what goes into creating the slide, creating the presentation, and how am I implementing the beautiful Firefly generative AI technology that now lives almost in all the amazing Creative Cloud apps and in many more things that are part of our daily life, to be fair. So I just cannot wait to show you how did I use it for a real event. I was in Phoenix not too long ago. I think it was a couple of months ago, and I actually did use it. So when Adobe approached to invite me to this stream, which I'm super happy to be here and share with you, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to share the real case study. People will have access to this slide. People that were at the event, they've used it. So I love to be transparent. I love to show how do I get my work done. This is the beauty. That's one of the things that I love the most about Adobe Live. You can see the behind the scene of different professionals and different workflows. So you can get inspired and hopefully you can learn new skills and tools to make it your own and bring it in your own workflow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, yes, thank you, Kladi, for the intro. I know you have your website up here. You have resources, what seems to be everywhere on the internet. Again, like you mentioned, Adobe Live is such a special place and unique to anywhere else because of this sort of one-on-one conversation that we are going to have over the next hour and a half. So what are we looking at here? This is your professional website?
This is my website. It's just like an introduction. You can learn a little bit about me. There is so much other stuff that I do really like. I do LinkedIn courses, ton of Adobe Live. I've authored some and hosted some of the shows in the past years at Adobe Live. I'm so happy to be part of the family for now nearly 6 years, which is crazy. But here you can find my courses. So today we're going to be talking Adobe Firefly, a little bit of Adobe Express, Adobe Photoshop, maybe Illustrator, why not? InDesign, as I said, I love to use the Creative Cloud app together. I think that every time, I haven't started as a speaker, I started as a designer. My background is in PR. So what I love to share, as I mentioned before, is my real workflow. And my real workflow is made of jumping from one app to the other. In fact, the session actually that we're going to be talking about and the slides that I will be sharing with you are called, the session was called Creative Cloud Gymnastic or something like that. And
that's awesome.
It was all about like how to create portals to move quickly and flexibly within the app. So I'm going to try to touch as much as possible. If you go into the resources and in particular freebies, as per usual in my stream, I love to give back to this amazing community that I'm so honored to be part of. There is a template that you can download. So iamkladi.com/freebies. You'll see, you can recognize the banner of today's event. You can watch back and access the stream as well from here. But most importantly, you can download an InDesign template, which is the just a general template for a presentation. So you can either learn with me today how to build it in order to maybe personalize and make it your own, or if you are in a rush and you really need it, you can just simply download it and edit the one that I provided for you. So as I mentioned, quick shout out to the wonderful Creative Pro family. I'm also wearing their t-shirt with all the little align.
Cool, yeah, it's a cool I love that t-shirt.
They're super amazing. It's an amazing family. I was there, as I said, this was my session. So go and check them out. I think next event is going to be in Washington, also available online. My session, here we go, was CC Gymnastic, how to land on your feet. So this is a real event. It went down in Phoenix, super exciting. How did Kladi approach that? And how did I create a presentation? And how did I use generative AI? So I would just dive into InDesign real quick, just to show you what my presentation looked like. And then from there, maybe we can just have a little bit of we can explore Firefly, see what are the capabilities there. And I'm super excited to know from the chat as well, what's their favorite app? Photoshop, InDesign, Illustrator, Firefly? Let us know.
Oh yeah, that's going to be a loaded question. I'm very curious to see what people think. I also, before you get into that, Kladi, I kind of wanted to go back to you talking about your behind the scenes, which I'm very excited to see your workflow and your process. I think we're so easy to talk about, CC libraries and the fact that we can work between these apps so effortlessly. And sometimes some may think, oh, is that really true? Is that really how you actually work? Like we're on here on Adobe Live talking about our actual workflow. And I think the power of being able to work just as more efficiently, between these apps and using things like Firefly and things like libraries is something that a lot of people will be interested to learn from you today. So very excited.
Totally. And talking about libraries, like, if that's the real way in which we work, those are my libraries. Like I'm still at the letter C, by the way.
Wow. So these are all your I have to say, that's probably the most libraries I've ever seen.
Yeah,
it's
like
amazing.
We're not done yet. Yeah, we're now done. Yeah, I do use libraries. They are like, honestly, I love to work smarter and faster. And you can literally open Photoshop files. You can edit. You can place. You can search. You can organize. You can share them. I was actually hosting a show a while back. I think it was. The one with Alex, or how to graphic design here on Adobe Live. And what we used to do, we just used to get like a design from the viewers, and we were editing the design, and then we were like, helping people to grow their business, maybe adjust their logo, give them suggestions. So I had my working file inside my library that I've created for the person that applied. And I was flying out. I was in the airport, and she lives in Australia. And I got a message from her, Kladi, thank you so much. I really need that logo now because I'm about to set up an event. So I need to print my banners and I need to implement my logo. And I was like, I'm about to jump on a plane. Then I thought, Creative Cloud is on my phone. So I literally enter my phone. From your phone, you can go into your libraries, and because you can share any libraries, like I don't remember what it was, otherwise I would actually show it here. But let's say there is this rebranding, just you can literally share it. All you need is their email, and they have access to all the color palette, logos, images, vector files, all sort of graphics. So they are an amazing, underrated, I think, space in which a lot of magic happens when you work in these amazing apps.
Yeah, and I think you definitely learn how to use it more efficiently when you're working with either a team, even if it's a small team, if it's a client that, like you just mentioned, needs a logo or needs a style guide or needs something quickly. That is the perfect way to do it. So yeah, absolutely.
Totally. And me and the little person that lives in my brain, we also we jump around. Like I constantly have to do edit and other things. I tend to do a lot of things at once. So that also helps a lot.
Let's see. Before we hop in here, let's see we're getting some comments on favorite apps. We got Illustrator, Lisa, Mohammed, Photoshop, and Firefly. I love all of them. Yes, I have to agree. Oliver, Lightroom Classic, Carol, Illustrator and Photoshop, Fresco. We got a lot of different options on here. So it's cool to see sort of everyone's favorite apps to use.
And who is in chat as a mod? Because I cannot see the chat. Because I usually had during my stream the wonderful, talented Val, and
Yeah.
bless her, every time that we the stream, I would like come up with many polls, because I was gonna say, Val, can we have a poll? But I don't know
Yeah,
if Val is in
Val's,
the
she's
chat.
always so good. Usually she is. I'm not sure what's going on today.
But let's have a look at this presentation. So this is actually my real presentation, as you can see, in InDesign. Even better, let's take a little step further. Every time that I create a presentation, I usually create interactive presentations, so you can also publish it online. Maybe we can stretch and talk about that as well. Let me know in the chat if you're interested on knowing how you can publish it online. It's super cool, because literally you can share a link, you can update the link, and you can update your file without updating the link, which is also pretty awesome. So I tend to start just with a cover, and then here, when I do big presentation, I always have a QR code. Instagram is the channel where you can find me more often, where I take the majority of the one-to-one mentorship, where you can find me on my DM. So I always have a QR code inside my presentation and a general hello. And then here a little bit more about the session. And as I say, this session was all about the Creative Cloud ecosystem, so all the different apps. And here we are already on page what I believe is 3 or 4. The first image that, as you can see, is an image that was created with Firefly. Now, the most important part of a presentation, what are the key parts of the presentation? This slide in particular has quite a lot of text, and I'll reveal you the reason why. Ideally, you do not want heavy text in your presentation. That's why Adobe Firefly and the amazing generative technology becomes so relevant and important for you to quickly and easily generate visuals that will be able to transfer whatever is the topic that you want about. But because I was traveling, again, I live in the UK, so in the meantime, I was trying to bring the view to a higher resolution so we can fully appreciate the image here. The reason why you see so much text in my slide is because, again, I was traveling. I have more than one session going on. It was also my birthday. I was planning a van trip all over Arizona and Utah. So I had a lot going on, and I didn't have time to create graphic for the presentation. So what I did is that I wrote quite a lot of text to make sure that all my ideas and all my thoughts were gathered together. And that allowed me then to highlight the most important part of the text, and then to create the wonderful Firefly, to use the wonderful Firefly to create the images that go with it. Those are a little bit of a fun picture about me. I used to work at the UN, and I used to do graffiti at the same time. So I always say, I don't think we have a proper introduction, James, but yeah, I started my career. I used to work in PR. I started to work at the United Nations as an assistant delegate.
That looks like a totally different person, by the way.
Correct.
That's you.
That was a thing. Like that was going on in my life. Like I was going to the UN during the day and painting trains with a luchador mask at night.
Oh, that is incredible.
So that would have led in either me being arrested or fired, or maybe worse. So as I said, graphic design saved my life. I pivoted into graphic design from international communication studies, and I just jumped and dived into my passion. And from there, I started to use wall to draw. I don't have any I never studied art. I never studied proper graphic design. It was literally walls, graffiti, and then experimental materials like exhibition. And then that was the first project that I actually used Illustrator for. That's why I'm so dearly connected to Illustrator, because I'm also dyslexic. And this is a font that is all about the gestalt and the perception, and using the perception principle that then I transformed into a font that is actually available to download, I think, on my Behance. You should be able to actually download it and use it on my Behance. But yeah, I always loved color. So that's a little bit of my background. Whenever you do a presentation, I know that's not pure Firefly or workflow, but I think that's one of these hot tips that is important to share. I share a lot about my personality. I really believe that helps you to connect with your public, with your audience, with the community. We all have a story. We connect through stories. That's one of the oldest way of connecting and bringing a community together. So don't be afraid to put some fun and embarrassing photos. in your presentation. As you can see, I have some crazy photo. This was taken at Adobe headquarters in San Jose. This is me when I was little, and
I love that photo
paint
so
all
much.
over. So again, don't be afraid to share a little bit of your stories and to break the ice, makes people comfortable. This is part of the presentation.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I'm glad you shared that. It's something that, we're learning about each other on these streams as well. And I'm curious, and you don't have to say this publicly if you don't want, but I'm curious if when you were doing street art, like what an amazing place to start and for just like the creative inspiration to flow. But did you ever get in trouble, working at the UN and then sort of like tagging
No,
buildings?
that's why I say like graphic design saved my life. I've done a lot
Okay.
of running. Like I have these sweet memories of running with all the cans like tickling at the back, like tin, like with my empty cans. I've done a few running, but luckily nothing ever happened. And also I always try to paint in like legal spots. People used to call me and paint like their bar or the restaurant. I actually done my very first trip to Brazil during the World Cup because an hotel, and the most random things happen with like painting. An Italian guy saw my graffiti in my hometown, and then he called me to paint his walls outside his hotel in Búzios, which is like a super high-end in Brazil. So I was like, sure, of course I'm coming to do like a graffiti for the World Cup. So it was fun. Again, I do not want to misrepresent me. Like that is it. I do gardens. That's what I used to do. So like there's a circus garden, there's a jungle garden, and I tended to do different version of gardens. Funny enough, as you can see, I also speak about Adobe Creative Cloud as a garden. I think that's like, where my imagination goes. I love nature. So that kind of like closes the circle about what I'm passionate about, brings all the element together. I'm nowhere near, and I do not want to confuse you or mislead you, I'm not a graffiti artist. I know what a graffiti artist is. I know many of them and I respect them highly. And there is nowhere near that I'm trying to sell myself as a graffiti artist. I like to experiment. I have no training in art. I'm much more like have a corporate, my first degree was in corporate communication and sort of like economy and international economy. So I come from like a marketing background and PR and events. That was my master. But the wall was a way for me to maintain that. Let me see if I found quickly that image, to keep that child alive. So that's what graffiti was for me. And also I have quite a loud personality. So working on walls, I think that was the space that I needed for me to like kind of express myself. I needed room. I do doodles the way that I really call myself. Like I do doodles on wall. I'm not a proper graffiti artist, but I have fun creating. And
I love that. I love that. Well, it's just another form of creative expression that clearly, led you to where you are now and was an important part of your life. And I appreciate you sharing that with us. We have a couple questions. I know you might be getting into this, Kladi, as we go. I know we're going to be bouncing around a little bit, but Mohammed wanted to know about the copyright of Firefly images.
Sure.
In terms of like how that works.
Sure, absolutely. So right now we're going to be working in Photoshop Beta. If you don't know how to access Photoshop Beta, I will show you how to do that. We're going to be working on what is out there for Firefly. Currently, as we are right now, images come with the little watermark that is here. And the watermark says that images are not for commercial use. This is because Adobe is doing a lot of work towards the transparency of the generating the images over the seeds of where the images that are generated come from. So Adobe has been extremely careful from day one, and I can speak loudly about that because I was involved in many meetings from the very beginning of the project before the project was made even public. They're working hard, they're working constantly, and they're making sure that all the artists are credited. I know that there are things in process to make sure that all the images that come from Adobe stock, the people that contributed will be rewarded for their contribution. There are so many things happening, but as we stand today, which is 7th of September, for today, we have the watermark for commercial use. Until you see the watermark on your corner, those images are not ready to be used for your work. So you can use them as inspiration. That's the reason why I'm showing you how to use it for presentation. I'm not selling this. It's not on sale anywhere. This is just a visual support for my slide. If by any chance one client or someone likes what they see, I can use that as a reference to then go ahead and create my own composition and so on. So as we stand right now, keep your eyes peeled. Change is coming. As soon as everything clears up, as I say, the team is working nonstop to make sure that you'll be able to use these images commercially as well. There is also something else that is the content credentials, which is such an important topic that is being brought up. I think it's a few years already. That is all about having these little crumbs of information. So, Photoshop and the amazing Creative Cloud app are going to record the path that the image has taken. And this is just to encourage transparency and to make sure that everybody gets credited and we're honest with our production. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, we all contaminate each other. Pablo Picasso said, I don't know what the actual saying was, but it basically, the core of his message was that art is made by mixing projects that already exist together.
Right.
We all look at each other nowadays with social media, with the internet. We have even higher access to mega volume of images. One of the main characteristic of information is that once it's released, is out there for everybody to grab. So, that's what it is. That's what is happening. I love that they're doing this work with Firefly to make sure that they protect and credit as much as possible. For now, please, do your duties and keep the watermark that is not for commercial use. Hopefully soon, we're gonna hear more about that. So keep your eyes peeled, because these technologies are like going fast. So there are changes coming literally every day.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's Adobe is at the forefront of it, but it's happening all around the world in different capacities. So I think everybody's trying to figure out how to be the most fair to artists out there while also allowing access to this kind of technology. So great question, great explanation. All right, Kladi, let's keep on rolling.
Perfect. So those are the main images that I'm gonna show you how I generated it. And I think that was a great way. Like, I started my presentation, I was talking about how to jump around, around Creative Cloud. So the first thing for me to express was, what is Creative Cloud? Like, Creative Cloud is so much things at the same time. How do I go and break it down? And that's why I thought having a visual and having an explanation that is quite metaphorical, it might help to really express what Creative Cloud is, or at least for my point of view and for my workflow, of course. And that's why I invited everybody during the conference to imagine Creative Cloud as a vibrant garden that is in bloom, and where the creativity, every individual can bloom their creativity in all their forms. And how do you go about representing something like that? I mean, that's like a painting or a huge composition. And I literally had half a day to get all the visuals together. And David, which is my lovely, amazing friend and colleague that calls me to join Creative Pro, please close your ears. Like, I've sourced the image that morning. I had the text. I knew what I was going to talk about, but I didn't have the visual. And I just felt like, how am I go about like creating a limitless garden, like the same morning, So I thought, well, Firefly, and also Firefly was part of the presentation, so I thought that's even great to show how it works. So let's do this. Let's jump into Firefly. Those are the core images that we're going to try and generate. We're going to try to find an image for Creative Cloud, and then we're going to go like, what a meta, like,
it's so cool too. It's like
an image for Photoshop, an image for Illustrator, and an image for InDesign. We're going to that's why I say, like, are you team Photoshop, are you team Illustrator, or team InDesign? Because that's what we're doing today.
Well, what I think is really cool about this too, obviously for your presentation is the use case that you're showing today, but one of the coolest things that I've come to really enjoy about Firefly is using it as an inspiration step. Like, if you're stuck creatively, even if you don't plan on creating anything, if you're stuck creatively and you're like, I don't really know what I want to create. Do I want to draw? Do I want to paint? Do I want to design? You kind of add this prompt, and it's used almost as like a therapeutic way to see something, and you see these, you're like, wow, these are really cool. Maybe I'd want to paint something similar. Maybe I want to design something similar. So there's a lot of ways to harness the power of Firefly in that way.
Totally. And there's so much more that springs into it. Like, because the creation is so fast and is so quick, it almost like tickles you to create more.
Right,
and also
right.
opens door, and that's why to me, like, creativity and innovation really go hand to hand. Passion and innovation, those are my keywords when I think about Firefly: creativity, passion, and innovation, because you can really get lost in a rabbit hole of colors and styles and exploring styles, and maybe you can see something that it becomes something that you want to paint, so you can create a brush. Like, I'm the kind of person that uses socks to paint. Like, I create textures with different brushes, and I think that's probably the reason that I've never been like proper schooled into being an artist. So, and painting on the street, like, you use cups, you use like the bottom of the beer, or you like whatever you can find there. But that's the beauty of Firefly also. Like, you just can, for example, I was looking at this texture here, like, how can you replicate that in real life? So there is so much really that you can do. And that's actually, James prompts me to say something. I know that there's been like, mixed feeling about the reception of GenAI in general. I want to remind everybody that this, as much as it's a fantastic, amazing, quick, mesmerizing, magical tool, is powered by you. Like, if you understand like the power of riding this magical dragon, like, you're doing it right. Because you can lead it wherever you want, and your lead is really going to shape the end result of whatever things that you want to do. So don't forget your power that is behind this creation.
Yeah, and I want to just add one little point, and then we'll hop in here, Kladi. I know you want a lot to show us, but I think that's such a big point, because the technology is not intended to replace the artist. The artist is the vessel for which the technology can help to continue to evolve and just get better and more efficient, but it's never, ever going to be at a place where the artist doesn't have their hands on the piece that you're working on, whether it is the prompts, whether it is the inspiration. I think that's important. And you hear it from people that aren't necessarily artists because they don't really understand that part of it. But for those that are in the chat, for those that are watching, for those that are going to be tuning in, I think you understand that as well.
Totally. Okay, so let's go ahead. The first thing we're going to be doing is to representing Creative Cloud, again, the garden. So I've written down some of this prompt. I do have like a live request for the team if is ever watching this stream.
Sure.
I want like a notepad on Firefly where I can copy and paste prompt, because I think that writing and the words that you write sometimes are just like, I either have like, at the moment, I'm just gonna be fully transparent and show you, like, I have my paper here, like my Dropbox paper, when I got all the prompt notebooks. It will be amazing if we can have like this little notepad, so we got like our keyword. I tend to like forget things, so probably just me. Someone else with better memory, probably they can remember it. Of course, the beauty of it, we'll see in a second, is, but once we go ahead and download the image, now that prompt will be recorded and stored within the name of the image. So thumbs up, that's amazing. And the same up in Photoshop when we use the layers. But it'll be nice to have like a general, this is just like personal request. Let me know in the chat if you think that could be useful. Maybe we'll make it happen.
Yeah.
So as I said, the first thing that we're going to do is to work on try to see, how it generates and how did I get to this image, and did I represent Adobe Creative Cloud as a limitless garden where your creativity blooms. And then we have Photoshop. So I envision Photoshop as the master, the sculptor of your imagination, that shapes images in your imagination. Then we have Illustrator, the virtuoso of the vector that precisely draw and breathe lives into sketches. And that's another reason, like, I use a lot of children language when I prompt, and that's probably something to share, because kids have this amazing imagination. And the reason why I talk about breathing life into sketches when I talk about Illustrator is I had my nephew drawing a little like draw, and when it was like a little porcupine, I think is the word in English, hedgehog, whatever they're called.
Yeah.
Okay.
Animal. Yeah.
And I was on a break, so I decided to surprise him, and I just kind of like done it in Illustrator, like I created like a vector character out of it. And when I sent it back, like, I got this video of him super excited saying like, it's alive, because from the sketch it became like a refined artwork like with the display, the character that it also is probably what it sees on TV in terms of cartoons. So that's why,
cool.
like, again, like using this sort of imagination and representation of words, depicting image with your words is very important to try to achieve the best result. And then of course we have InDesign, which I imagined as the architect that shapes the atmospheres of, or in this case, for example, of our presentation or any space, in order to evoke an emotion by arranging elements on a page or on a screen. So those are our objectives. Let's see what we can create and let's see how it works. So everybody join with me on firefly.adobe.com because this amazing GenAI journey is about to start.
And Kladi, before you get going, I know the answer to this, and just so that everyone in the chat has clarity, these are all in beta right now. I know they're going to be launching fairly soon, but I'm not totally sure if we can say when or...
No.
Okay. No one knows, but if you're going to be using this at home, you just need to make sure that in your Creative Cloud apps, you're installing the beta version, not the public version, correct?
Yeah, and let's do that real quick. So I love to share that. So great point, James. Here, if we head to our Creative Cloud desktop app, this is the main app, which is the logo of Creative Cloud, which is the rainbow with the infinity in it. If we head into the apps tab, here it is. On the left, you see, let's go ahead and find like the normal tab. So all apps are the apps that you know, your besties. As you know, Photoshop is blue, Illustrator is yellow, InDesign is pink, and we got all the other amazing apps where you can open. This is the place where you download it and so on. And as you can see, those are the main apps that are in general release. So they are public. What is beta? And that's probably like, I know that that's so silly, but a lot of people just get confused because they don't know it. Because if you're not into tech, like what does beta even mean? So beta simply mean that it is a work in progress version of the same app. This is not the final app. So you might, for example, expect that is not working properly. Like, you kind of take it for granted that the beta app is just a work in progress. It shows you what your app, your final app, is gonna look like. So it gives you a chance to start to get comfortable, to get familiar with the new tools that are getting released within the same year and that the team is working on. Is also a great place in which you can interact and give feedback to the team so they can shape the app in a way that makes more sense for us creative. How do we get there? Super easy. For Firefly, we have a direct link from the Creative Cloud desktop app, Adobe Firefly beta. Click on it, it will open up the beta website for you. And then to access Photoshop, Illustrator, or any other beta version of the app, you go ahead and click on the beta apps tab on your left. And from there, you can see, their banner says that feature is there. And one of the amazing things of the app is that they're a lab. They're basically is a place where you can virtually meet with the product team at Adobe and give feedback and request what you want. Don't be afraid to say what you don't like. They're super open. They really want to make this stuff work for us at their best. So they do collect this data for you to understand and share what is best for you. I think that I did updated Photoshop. So this has happened very often, like because they're in beta, you might want to go ahead and check on the updates. Like I literally updated today. I don't know when the other update has been, but as I say, they work tirelessly, that's the word, on it. So you can go ahead and update fairly often, at least weekly, I think, these days.
Yeah, because they're making changes. So especially as you get closer and closer to it being more public, at least like some of these things, those updates tend to happen a lot quicker. But yeah, really, really glad. I definitely just lost. I lost a light in here.
Oh, no.
That
well,
we
see you great.
Okay, good. Cool.
Yes,
okay.
So you can update them. You can update them from the update tab. Once you install them, that's when they're going to come into the update. Otherwise, simply from the beta apps, you see that they have a different logo. It's all the same for the beta. Big signal to let you know that this is not the final app. This is just the footprint or the blueprint of what the app is going to look like. and they invite you. This is free for everybody that has a Creative Cloud. Everybody can join, super public. This is just an experimental phase of the app before it gets fully released to the public. So all you have to do is to click into install, and then when it's ready, you can click on open. And of course, make sure to stay up to date and update the app as often as you desire in order to discover the latest that are coming to the app. So let's go ahead and jump into Firefly. And as I mentioned before, there are different ways in which you can use Firefly. We're going to start with text to image. This is one of my favorites. And then we're going to talk afterwards about generative fill. We're going to pair it up with the same workflow that happens inside Photoshop. As I said, Firefly is the new technology injection that also enters inside our well-known app. So you will start to see inside Photoshop, inside Illustrator, how you can leverage the power of this amazing technology that will make your work so much faster, so much easier, and so much accessible to everybody, which is really, really important. So to start, I'm going to go ahead and click onto generate to start to explore how to generate images. Now, if you're new to this, let me know in the chat if you've used Adobe Firefly before. Hopefully, if you're here at Adobe Live, I'm sure there has been so much talking about Adobe Firefly. So hopefully you used it yet. Let me know if you used the Photoshop beta yet. Let me know if you have any question regarding the beta. I'm super happy to go over it. Don't be shy. If you don't understand what it is, it's absolutely fine. I was part of the beta and the pre-release, and at the first year, I didn't even know what that meant myself.
Yeah, we're getting some clarity on these streams.
Amazing. So as you can see, if you hover on these images, those are examples of images. This is the Firefly gallery. So those are images that have been created and have been posted through Firefly by user that have just been using the app. Look how cool is that kitty?
That's so cool. Oh my
and
God,
I saw that there was the little, like, what is that? I love it. It's
like
a
little
psychedelic caterpillar sitting on a mushroom.
So cool. Yeah, it's just even opening this first prompt, like to see these prompts, all of a sudden your mind goes, wow, like who even thought of that? Or, your mind, it just starts taking off, cool. Which is so cool.
And if you don't know how to start, like, you can start with stuff like that. So let's go ahead and click on the mega caterpillar, because I think that's super funny. So once you click on any of these, it actually uses the same prompt, and it does what generally Firefly does when you insert a prompt in the text to image technology. That means that the first response is going to be a set of 4 images in the aspect ratio that you have selected, or the last that you have used. I think 16:9, it should be the one that is by default, or I think this is a sticky setting. So if you used any other setting before, you're probably going to find a different aspect ratio. You can change it at any time. But as I said, the first step is 4 versions of whatever is the text. As we know here, we have a fuzzy psychedelic caterpillar sitting on a mushroom. Love that. And also you have the chance to style it. So here on the right, we have this property panel that comes with, as we mentioned before, aspect ratio. So what is the dimension? What is the size of your image? Then we have the kind of content. You can leave these as set as none. So you leave Firefly the full power to take you wherever he wants to go, pretty random usually, as you can see from these amazing images. Or you can narrow it down into photos, graphic, or art. And then further down, you can explore styles. Styles are divided into categories. Those are the most popular categories. So digital art, synthwave, which is super cool, give you all this like super cyber color, or different style movements, as for example, science fiction, as we see here, psychedelic, fantasy. So for example, let's try and change these fuzzy psychedelic caterpillar into pop art. At the moment, we have Baroque. There is a other into it. You can actually mix and clash styles. Cool. At the moment, I'm going to go ahead and take the Baroque away and just switch the same concept, the same prompt into I think I selected Cubism instead of pop art. Even funkier. Let's see.
Yeah, let's see our cubic. Oh man, that is. Look at this one on the bottom left.
Is the one, right?
He's
with
so
his big
cute.
eyes. And let's go at what happens if they switch it into a pop art. Like, honestly, if you're having a bad day, just come here for fun. That also is something that I
Absolutely.
do.
I know. I was just thinking about that when you were putting these prompts in. I'm like, man, I'm gonna get off this stream and I'm gonna go play in Firefly for an hour. They're so good.
Look at that, the color. They're absolutely super cool. And then you can also change and use different tones, different lighting, and different composition. So let's go ahead and see what a composition looks like. So you can change the angle of where the image is shot. So you can have a blurry background, you can have a close-up. Let's see how we have a close. It's quite a close-up already. But let's see what it gave us here. So once you select the new styles and the new attributes that you're adding to your request, you have to click on generate, and you'll see that it thinks about it for a second, and then it comes up with other images.
Now, I have a quick question here in terms of like how the prompt gets placed. So let's say you put close up first, then pop art. Does it give you alternate options, or like the order of how you put those prompts in the bottom? Does that dictate the results you'll get?
So the result is always very different. Like,
Right,
and that's
right.
another reason why we're still, in beta. The results
Gotcha.
are very different. At the beginning, at the very, very beginning, there was like talk of being able to add like things that you don't want, but at the moment we are already requesting a lot from the technology. So I think that the best rule of thumbs, and then probably, if I learn anything more, I will correct myself in the future. But my experience is that things are still pretty random, especially like when something as random as a psychedelic caterpillar.
Right. Right. Sitting on a mushroom that is probably not really a mushroom.
Yeah. So like, exactly. So again, like depends how, maybe if you play with picture, you start to see the difference a little bit more here. Like we have a psychedelic caterpillar. So things get pretty random at the moment. And as you can see, you can add as many styles as you want. So there is definitely like a mix. And remember, those images are generated by grabbing references. So you'll find a mix of things. And I would recommend not to use too many if you're looking for a specific look. Probably that is the best answer that I can give you.
Right.
If you're looking for a specific look, try to explore the look individually. That's what I do. So just go like photo and synthwave, or just start. I like to start even with the wording, really simple. So I'm going to show you actually something that I use for other project, which this is like a really cool prompt. I'm just going to go ahead and copy it from my notepad here. So I have this simplicity, clean lines, minimal color, negative space, minimal still life. This is a prompt that I use to generate some background, some still life background. Let's see what it comes up here. Oh, I have a close up. Just going to go ahead and.
So even without giving it really any like specific prompt, it's more, that's what you're looking for, almost like textured background, something maybe a little abstract.
Correct.
Gotcha. Cool. And
Correct.
do the quotes, I always forget punctuation, does that make it more specific? Like if you just put commas, does that I know sometimes prompts can be finicky in terms of how you type.
This is the structure that I use, is just because I come from website as well, like when I started to start graphic design. So I like to like quote things, which just kind of keeps the sentence together. And all I'm doing with the brackets is just to keep the words together. So it's not a minimal space, it's a negative space. And minimal goes with still life. So the still life is minimal and the space is negative, which in reality, negative space means like empty space, as we know. Or if you don't know, negative space, it just means that we have area that we can fill maybe with text. Like, for example, for this image here, we have some negative space at the top. So we'll be able to add some text. And as you can see, the result is pretty cool. Like that's exactly the sort of stuff that I want. It gives me a very good variety of like a more graphical approach. Then here, that's already a mock-up. That's super cool.
Yeah.
Here we have like almost packaging, a very simplified version. And also it comes with a version. So I'm really happy here because it's just giving me a very broad variety of aspects in which those keywords are represented. And I'm just going to go ahead and choose pick photo. to see if it gives me like a more realistic backdrop. I do it like I use these with 3Ds in Illustrator as a background anytime that I have to like showcase 3D. You know, here I'm not too happy about the photos giving me like a real life block.
Right.
I was a little bit more happy with graphics, so I can just untick photo, tick graphic, and see what it comes up again, and basically stinking and bringing these up together. So you can see like here that's perfect, and you know that's perfect for a background. I can place a product, I can use that for an advert, I can use that, you know, for all sorts of ideas that I want to do. Like now when I say use it as an advert, again, remember, this is still not ready for commercial use, but I can build something that is pretty similar to this and then use it. But it already gives me an idea of the composition that I want. It gives me inspiration with the colors. It gives me inspiration with the object that I want to place, and so much more.
So if you clicked into one of these, let's say the bottom left is the winner, at least like to get you to the next stage, would that then give you 4 other options that are closer to this, or that's kind of your final thing unless you gave it a new prompt? And
so when you click on it, there are many things that you can do, which is super amazing. First of all, strongly recommend you to rate it. That gives, like, as I said, we're still in beta, so great space to give feedback. You can say if that's the kind of result that you want or you don't want. If it's something that bothers you, please, you're welcome to report it. For whatever reason you feel the need to report it, there is a flag there that allows you to flag the image and to give like boundaries to what it gets represented as a result. And then you have at the top, so as you can see by clicking on it, the main image becomes bigger, and you have all the other images coming down as a carousel at the bottom, and he also adds another just to fill the carousel again. And then on the top we start to see these buttons, which by the way they're also accessible from these like little 4. As you can see, once you hover on the image, we have the rating and we have this amazing icon. Now we have an icon that allows us to edit on the left, so you can edit with generative fill. As I say, like we're going to jump into that real quick as well. Generative fill will allow you to add or remove unwanted object, or add anything that you want through prompt. So for example, here I can add a vase, I can add a flower, or you can show similar, which is what I'm going to do in a second, or you can use these as a reference and then prompt something else on it, or maybe do something even more like applying filters, adjustment, removing the background or text right here, which is super exciting. Now, if we jump on the other options that we have on the right, on the top right, we have the opportunity of copying the image. So literally click on copy to clipboard, and then you can jump. Let's go ahead and jump on our presentation, paste, boom, the image is there. Like it's literally pasted inside my whatever document I have open. Literally, you don't have to be in Creative Cloud. Let's go ahead and see if I can add it here. Again, Control V, boom, is pasted inside my paper. So imagine like if you're briefing or if you're working with a team and you're talking about something, and which is a little bit more like of a harder concept. And I use this when I break down my project with clients and so much more. You can literally jump into Firefly, write a concept, get the idea that gets you on the same page, and sort of display where you want to go with a specific concept. And boom, you can paste it on your presentation, you can paste it on your notes, on your paper, on your whatever you use to share with your community. Is as easy as that.
Well, I think another use case, Kladi, just from my standpoint, because I'm not a designer like you are, I'm a filmmaker and video editor, so I'm on the video and the photo side. Like I find that the power in what I would need it for is like the same kind of thing, storyboarding ideas, or coming up with ideas that I can't necessarily visually explain, but I need to be able to see them visually before I can actually shoot stuff. So I think, again, it has so many different use cases for so many different verticals and industries, not just for presentations, but it's
absolutely.
It's
like I was shooting I was writing a shooting a while ago for a singer, and she had this idea of luxury, and I'm Italian. I come from a different background. For me, luxury means like clean lines, like means literally nothing. Like a blue dress with not a dot for me is luxury or is elegant. But that's my background. That's, probably because I've been seeing luxury as Armani or this Italian iconic brand. She comes from a completely different background. So her idea of luxury was diamonds and stones and sparkles. And that doesn't mean that she's wrong or I'm wrong. We just have a different pictures that is connected to a specific word of concept that is inherited with our culture and with our experience. Now, jumping on a project like that and being able to narrow down which version of luxury we're looking for by choosing the right image from the one that get generated, will really allow us to be on the same page and really help us to pick the outfit in the end.
Absolutely. Kladi, before you get going, we have just a couple questions in the chat I want to try to answer. So PJ had a question. Is there any news on sketch to image? Is that something that's coming? Do we know? Or is that something that we can't be discussing?
Is something that they are really working on. And again, I mean, let's go back here to the home page. It's here, like sketch to image, it's coming. It's an exploration, it's coming, it's amazing. You'll be able to prompt and transform your sketches into image, and there's so much, like, honestly.
Yeah, there's a lot.
So bad because I feel that we're both part of the same teams. Sorry, the same meetings. So if you see us hesitant here, it's not because it's not coming, it's because there is a lot of work behind the scene that is about to come your way. So the best thing that I can tell you is keep your eyes peeled. There is a ton of amazing thing. Sketch to image is there. There is so much more that is going to really blow your mind and enhance and help you to use these amazing apps, and it's going to really make your work faster. So yes, everything is coming.
Kladi, couldn't have said it better myself. PJ, I think that answers your question. And Mohammed had a question earlier. I'm just seeing it again. Kladi, I know we moved away from this, but Mohammed wanted to know if they can use transition or animation within the slide by Adobe Express. Are there, Mohammed, are you?
So currently I'm in InDesign. I personally, and I think when I started to talk, one of my first podcasts was a podcast about like getting inspiration on how to talk from TED Talkers. So there is an audiobook. I think it's not a podcast. It's an audiobook that is like talk like a TED Talker or present like a TED Talker. I don't remember the title. See if I can have a look. But the whole point is, one of the key point is try not to rely on animation, and that goes for your reels, that goes for, like, you probably can speak louder at that, James, like being video, like content. If you got a good content, what the transition do is just really create a shade of your content and just distract the attention from the content, unless it's something that is required. So for example, if you see my reels, sometimes I have a transition when I go from Illustrator to Photoshop because I want to create a disconnect. I really want people to be like, hey, we're not here in Illustrator anymore, we're into Photoshop. Like, I just almost want to shake you. But usually when you're narrating a story, you do not want to shake people. You want to make them feel relaxed. You want to make them feel, at ease, so they can take in and they can consume your content in a much easier and comfortable way. And I think that, that sort of slight transition goes in the middle of that. But I'm curious to hear your point, James.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I mean, I've never really been the biggest fan of transitions for the sake of transitions, whether it's in a presentation, whether it's in video. I know in video, there's been, massive trends over the last few years of videos being so heavily created with transitions. And I think, going back to your point, Kladi, like, I've always believed that story is king. And if the story dictates the need for that, then it should be in there. If it doesn't, then your story should be told in a way that doesn't distract the viewer from what you're doing. So Mohammed, to answer your question, yes, there are obviously options and the tools are there to add transitions. But I think some feedback is just to think, like, is this really something that's necessary? Is it going to make my presentation or my film look more professional, or is it going to make it look more amateur? And I think, only you can decide kind of the feeling on that. But
jumping real quick into Adobe Express, like, there is a great deal of things that you can do in terms of, adding animation. you can create, and we're going to use a little bit of this GenAI also here. So for example, here, jump real quick. Again, every service and every app, everything that is about Adobe is the name of the thing plus .adobe.com. So in this case, we are on express.adobe.com. Before we were on firefly.adobe.com. If you need tips about color, you want to go to color.adobe.com. If you want to learn about fonts, color, blah, blah, blah. You know, you got it. I can't even say it. I said it too many times. Probably have to stop. But it's the name.adobe.com. And that's how you land, for example, into Express. And animation are an amazing, amazing thing that has been added and really allows you to add effects real quickly to your actual images. Transition is a different thing. We're talking about moving from an image to the other inside a video, but absolutely thumbs up to all sort of animation. Like, as you can see, I've done this one so quickly.
So cool.
I've got it rotating, I got the heart that is popping, and then I got my shrinking for the text. So go ahead and play with that as well. So cool. In the meantime, James, I did move further because time goes. I can't believe I got like half an hour. I haven't even done a quarter of what I wanted to do. What's going on here?
We get carried away. It's a good thing. I think people are interested
all good stuff,
in hearing it. It's all good stuff.
And give us a heart in the video or give us a thumbs up if you're on YouTube. If you're enjoying this stream, I love your feedback. I try to go and reply to your feedback afterwards on YouTube as well. So share your love. We want to know if you're interested in what we're talking about. Hopefully it's useful for you and to enhance your work. So what I did here was to use the definition of creative cloud that I came out with, which is the vibrant and limitless garden where creativity blooms in all its form. So I literally have a concept, my mental image, and that's how I describe, Firefly in one of my first video. Think it, type it, generate it, and it's done. That's literally what I've done. And this is what happened. Like, your ideas get transformed into pixels in a click.
Maybe that needs to be on a t-shirt for Adobe Max. I like that. Think it, there. Type it, generate it. It's there. Let's go.
Yeah. So another thing here, as you can see, I generated the image. Now, how do I go about it? My presentation is a widescreen. By the way, if you're just joining in right now, I have a free template presentation for you. You can go on my website, imkladi.com/freebies, and you'll see that there is a little thumbnail of this stream. You can rewatch this video and you can download for free this template. And this template is a 16:9. So how do we fit that image there? If we go to Firefly right now, and we just go ahead and did what we did before, which was copy to clipboard, and we come back to our lovely InDesign presentation and paste it, how do we use this? It's not the right size. So very quickly and easily, we can jump back into Firefly with the prompt staying there. I can simply go to my aspect ratio and change it into my widescreen, and boom, just as magic, Firefly understand that what I need is an image that has a different resolution, which is the resolution, by the way, if you're using my template, 16:9 is the place that you want to go. And here it is. It opens this garden to new dimensions as well.
And I love that top. I mean, I like all of them, but that top right one is doing it for me. I don't know why.
It's this so one here, cool. The one with the blue sky and the tower behind. So let's go ahead and copy that to the clipboard. This is one way that you can go about it. Remember, if you're using InDesign, in this case, I'm just simply copying and pasting. I can go ahead and use my shortcut, which is Control-Shift to make sure that I resize it, keeping proportions. And look what happens here. It's nice, fits the page. I'm happy with it. But what is going on in terms of the actual image? If it stays there inside InDesign, and because we copy and paste it, if you want to share this document, or if you're moving this document and open it somewhere else, that image might not be linked to your document. So when you copy and paste your image, what you want to do is always head to your window menu and select your links panel. Your links panel is got nothing to do with the links that are inside like a website. It's not something that you can click, but it's actually the images that are inside Photoshop. So it looks like that here, it actually gets automatically embedded if you simply copy and paste, which is news to me. Pretty cool. I'm in beta. at the moment. So this is actually pretty cool. Otherwise, if we go ahead and download that image, so this is one way in which you can add your image. The other way would be to always from the website, click on the download, and the image will be downloaded with the content credential applied. Remember, we talked about content credential at the very beginning. Content credential will allow you to keep the crumbs, a little bit of a track of where the image comes from. This is for transparency. This is to protect, represent, and credit everybody, and to really give transparency on the journey that the specific image has been taken, which is amazing. Let's go ahead and place the image over here. Look at that. Look at this fuzzy thing. Open
So
it right
cute.
now. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy, and look at that. We have, oops, I think I made a little bit of a mess by clicking on it. Once we go ahead and save, we can see that we have the vibrant limitless garden where creativity blooms in all its form as an image name. So the prompt becomes a name, which is a fantastic way to record what you have done before. And that's how I was able to build up my recollection of images and the prompt that I used to create it for the original presentation for Creative Pro Week. So I literally looked at the name of the image, and here they were. So let's go ahead and look at my mess that I have here in my folders. Let's go ahead. This is September 7, and I'm just going to go ahead and place this image here. Now, once I place the image, and then I go ahead and start to place it inside InDesign, Control D or Command D if you're working on a Mac to place an image inside InDesign. That's the way you do it. We can go ahead and start to bring images. Let's go ahead and see where we can find it here. Where are they? Let's go and see why they're not showing up for me. Maybe it's a different folder. Another thing that you can do if you don't want to place is simply to click and drag. I'm not sure where this folder is. Oh, it's a different folder, of course. That's why.
Yeah, naturally. It's always that's always
sense.
the case.
So as you can see, the image is there. It's been downloaded on my computer. You can also click and drag in order to place it. It will be loaded as a little thumbnail, and then you can click and drag in order to place it inside your presentation. You will create a little container, and your image will display. And as you can see, what I was talking about before, this links panel, it becomes extremely handy because it shows you the links or everything that is connected to any external file. That's why the clipping didn't work, because it wasn't a file.
Oh, I see. Yeah, because it wasn't showing. So the reason for doing this, and it seems like it sort of applies to most Adobe products. I mean, I'm speaking from video, Premiere, footage being unlinked when you're trying to share files. It's the same idea that if you're trying to send this and you haven't linked this file here inside of InDesign, then whoever is going to be creating it will see like a missing link, and they'll be very confused.
So you're literally leaving your images behind unless you package it. You're going to leave in your images behind, and the presentation will be without images. So imagine Kladi being in the hotel and rushing to place all these images for the presentation, then going into emailing the presentation to to the organizer of the event or their tech team, jumping on stage and using their laptop and opening the presentation, and boom, the images are not there. I'll be crying.
Yeah.
I'll be crying on my knees.
That would be like, everyone turn around and give me 5 minutes while I sweat.
And that's why I really want to show you how you can embed these images so they become part of your document. You go ahead and click on it if you want to. It gets highlighted inside the links. I know the links name is a little bit confusing. I used to get confused myself because you can add links like clickable links, hyperlinks inside InDesign, but this is not the case. Those are linked linked files, external file that you have placed and imported inside InDesign. And what I'm going to do here is to go ahead and click on that little burger menu that is at the top, and the flyout menu comes up. And as you can see, all you have to do is to select embed link. Now, by embedding the link, you see this little icon that means that the link is embedded. You can go to sleep, you can go on stage, you can do your presentation, you can go to school, whatever you are. If you're a student, if you're a professional, you're safe. It's good. It's going to be working, and it's going to stay. You don't have to make a copy. It becomes part of your presentation.
That is the piece. That's the piece. They should just call that the peace of mind link right there.
Absolutely. And there is other things that you can do. So for example, you can bring in images from your library. And we talked about the library being so amazing. Another thing that I could have done is to simply drop, let's go ahead and use another of these images. Actually, let's go and generate another one. Come on, we're missing the fun of generating more fun stuff.
I know. I'm
so
like,
we got
let's
that.
generate some cool caterpillars.
We're actually going to generate Mr. Photoshop.
Yes.
How do you feel about it?
I love that. I love that.
I decided that Photoshop was a Mr. and InDesign is an architect. I don't know. That's the way that I was thinking about it. Well, let's see if Firefly agrees, because a master can be like also a lady, can it? I think.
Absolutely. Whatever you see it as, I think what you had there was pretty cool. So, and I'm sure we're going to get some variations of those results.
So in order to change, you don't have to do much. Simply go ahead and type whatever you want. In this case, my vision of Photoshop was a master that shapes images and breathes life into digital art. So I can go ahead and click generate. And let me see.
Kladi,
I was just checking that I wasn't using Illustrator prompt. Look at that.
Oh, wow. Wow. So different, but so cool.
Like this is nothing like, and that's what I love as well. Like you get such a variation, and we have the art content type selected on it. We can have a look and see how it looks like with different kind of graphics. And there is something that we've not done before, which is a show similar. So I'm definitely super excited to show you this variation here. So let's see that this is the mood. Oh, I love this one. That this is the sort of mood like that I want to go for, like sort of painting. I love the moon. There are so many characteristics about this that I love. How do I find something that is actually similar to this? Well, by selecting edit on the left, you can go ahead and select show similar. By clicking on show similar, you're going to retain that specific image that you've selected. And then you are basically telling Firefly, hey, I like this, but give me more option around this specific one. And as you can see, give me different point of view, different identities show up, different, like this one is during night. We got one that it looks like there is almost like sunrise. And then we have one without the moon completely. And you can repeat these over and over again. So I'm just going to go here and do like another show similar. And look how easy it is to get like to move into this train of thoughts. You're literally thinking visually here, like with a visual reference to it.
And so you can basically like, it's almost just like a complete domino effect. You get to one part and you're like, okay, I really like, let's say this top right is something that you like. Would you then continue to do show similar, or would you just go back to the prompt and maybe tweak some of the language to get something a little more specific?
I tend to like rewrite prompts rather than writing it. That's, I think, is my approach. I would probably suggest to tweak the prompts in general. I'm quite of sharp. I like make sharp changes. I like to make big changes. Again, I'm using this as a presentation, and that's the other beauty of it. You don't have to be too particular with it.
Right.
You know, if I was creating a composition, definitely I will go in depth. But in this case, to keep it on the topic of a presentation, what I need is the general idea. So, you know, if these shapes over, if I love this color palette and it just kind of gives me the vibe that I want, almost like the god Neptune coming from the sea, it gives me like this vibe with a white beard and the white hair. Who cares that this image there is not necessarily what I want, right? If instead I was working on something, because what I'm doing, like, is a presentation. If I want to work on something more specific, let's go ahead. I really love this one for some reason.
Me
really,
too.
really
that one's
connects
so
with
cool.
Me. So what you can
really
do,
good.
what you can do here, and I agree, is like having the sun and everything built around. What I promised that I was going to show you is the generative fill. So as you can see, there are so many things that you can do here. If we select generative fill, we're going to use this image, but open up another feature within Firefly, which allows you to add, remove, to add anything you want or remove objects. So for example, let's say that I'm vibing with everything, but I really don't want that plant over there. Maybe I want a statue here, right? Because I'm talking about Photoshop being a sculpture of imagination. So I just want to bring more the idea of sculpting. Look at this screen.
I know.
Carved.
I know. It's
amazing.
So cool.
So in order to add something different here, all you have to do is to select insert. And then actually, let's do the remove first. So I'm going to go ahead and click on remove, and then I'm going to click and drag it. As you can see, we start to see this familiar checkerboard that if you have opened or used Photoshop before, it should be fairly familiar with you. And what it's doing is just simply removing the pixels that make that image in that specific area. You can be fairly rough with this just by eliminating anything, whatever is disturbing your image, whatever is something that you want to just remove from your image. And there you can go ahead and click on the big blue remove button. And just as magic and just as usual with Firefly, not only we're going to have a quick result of the same image with that specific area removed very successfully, but we also have different options. So it's giving me a table, it's giving me like a countertop at the back, or it's giving me like a full, as almost if the window was completely coming out, and this line was just something that belonged to outside the building. Or if you want to keep it inside, and that's part of the structure of the window, we have that inside, and go on. So you can literally remove anything that you do not want from your image, any unwanted object, click, select it, remove it, done, it's gone. And if you want to insert something else, like for example, well, go ahead and save first before switching tools. Very important. I got the mic that is covering the bottom of the setting. By the way, here you can also refine the setting of your brush. We have brush size, hardness, opacity, so much that you can do with it. Again, I'm working on a presentation. I want something that is not too detailed here. So I just kind of like keep it rough because it works, and it works well. Yeah. So maybe here, I'm just going to go ahead and make the brush bigger. Again, we're mimicking some of the tools that work the same in Photoshop. So the right bracket on your keyboard will make the brush larger. The left bracket on your keyboard will make your brush smaller. So all you have to do is to click to see it changing. And then here, I'm going to make it big. And again, erase these pixels, but in this case, instead of removing the area, what I'm asking Firefly is to add and insert a new object, which we can simply type in order to create. So what are we thinking about? I'm thinking about a statue.
I do like the idea of a statue. I'm curious to see what sort of hunk of a statue they're going to put up there, if that is what the statue is.
Let's see what happens. Oh my God. How
cool.
Beautiful is that? Look how gorgeous is that? So again, I personally like, because again, I'm not using this for a very refined project. So I'm not looking in details to a very specific concept to match. I just want to convey a general idea through my presentation. I leave it open. And because I love to be inspired by things. And that makes me think about like one of my experience, James, like I'm Italian. I went to the US really young. I left home like when I was 14. I went to study in the US, and usually people like peak areas. So everybody goes to New York, everybody goes to San Francisco, everybody goes to the cool places, to Miami. Imagine like you're 14 in Italy. Those are probably the only three places that you know, alongside London probably, or Paris. Sure. And I've done the wildest choice to like leave mine blank. Like I leave my form when I was leaving, like when I was going to, do my gap year in the States during my high school, I left it blank. And I just sort of have the same vibe with Firefly. Like I'm really open to see what comes to me. And then, I may like it, I may not like it, but I think that is very wonderful to see and to explore and to be open to these new options that come to you.
I love
Of course, if you have a detailed brief that as a foundation and as a specific track, by all means, feel free to be detailed. But sometimes I feel that the more simple you keep the prompt, the better results you get. That's my experience.
What I think is kind of cool about Firefly and generative fill and just all this new technology that is a part of the Adobe, suite, the Creative Cloud suite, is it almost reminds me of back in the day. I remember I had this technology art class where you would use Paint. It was like the old school like Paint program. I think that's what it was called. I don't even remember if it was an Apple product or what it was. Maybe it was Adobe. I don't think it was. But it was just fun to play around for just the sake of using technology to create something. And I think over time, as you become more professional and your job dictates what you create and how you create it, it's nice to have something in the program that allows you to have fun again, and just explore and experiment and find that creativity again. I think that's what Firefly has done for a lot of people. I'm certainly inspired.
Totally. And look at that. Like here we have like color matching, and something else that I want to point it out, like is also matching the background, and time is running. So I probably want to jump into Photoshop as well, to show you some cool stuff. But I mean, this is the gist. Like this is the technology. in Photoshop. As you can imagine, we're gonna have a look at layer. I'm just gonna like shut up and go into Photoshop in just a second before just talking about it. But before we do so, I just wanted to show you like the options here, which are mind-blowing, just so you also have a little bit of an understanding of how it works. So the things that it looks at are the pixels that are at the edge of your selection. So first thing is going to look at these colors that are around. So it's going to go ahead and match the background. Then it's going to look at the overall pixel that make the image. If you played with content aware, that's something, content aware is a tool in Photoshop that allows you to replace pixels by using a source that is already inside the image. So it just literally brings in and use that replacement by being aware of the content that is on the image. That's an amazing workspace that it was introduced, I think, like 3 years ago now.
Right.
So this is the same sort of vibe, like that was the amazing Adobe Sensei. Now we have still this amazing technology behind it that make it worse, looks at the image. In this case, we're mirroring the color palette and just giving us a statue. Here you take a little bit further, bring in different options of the color palette. And this one, which I think is an amazing result, also gives like the little folds that we have on the dress. So not only, gives you an idea of what a statue is and fixes the background so it matches wonderfully, but also it just gives you the same sort of vibe, which is amazing. And again, if you don't like any of this, I can generate more. Like the amount of time that I click more, that's probably a problem with me. Like I'm always like, because I'm so curious, I'm like more.
You're always wondering, like, is the next one the one? And you're like, I gotta see. I'm too curious.
And we can see here the statue like in different position as well. I'm just gonna go like with this statue over here.
Cool.
And then again, we have more options. You can publish it, you can copy it. In this case, I'm just gonna go ahead and download it, save it. Who knows where my folder is, somewhere in my computer. First of all, we gotta keep. I always forget to keep and save. So if you insert, you want to keep it. If you want to keep it, otherwise you can cancel it and go back to where you started from. If you remove it, you want to save it if that's what you want to do.
Gotcha.
Now we can go ahead and download. We have all the amazing, let's go where we are here. That should be the right folder. Let's go ahead and click on save. Just to make things easier, I'm just going to go ahead and open the folder here. Perfect. So we have it. And we're just going to bring it back inside my InDesign. And I was just thinking here, maybe we can create a library.
Yes, we need to add more to this hundreds of libraries.
Right. We have this presentation and we can go into our folder. And what I'm going to do here is to simply drag these images that I've created inside my library. So as you can see, they're loaded. Ideally, the reason why I love library, James, is because I produce so much content. My computer will literally want to go and like explode. So by putting things on the libraries, not only they're on an Adobe server. So first of all, Adobe's taking all the storage. My computer can breathe. I can delete the file. So bigger pictures, library. Heavy graphics, vector points, they go straight into the library. And they are accessible. They're stored there. And also, if you double click on it, because those are images, the magic is they open inside Photoshop. Now, we might have a conflict because we're using a beta. So I've Photoshop beta open, so we cannot show the full magic. But if we have, let's see, do we have enough time? We do not have enough time.
I think we have about
we do not have enough time. But the beauty of it is that if you double click on it, it will automatically open the image inside Photoshop. But the beauty of the libraries is that if I don't want to do that, or if in this case I cannot do that and I'm working faster and I need to still use that image, well, libraries get updated wherever you go inside the Creative Cloud environment. That means if I now go ahead inside my Photoshop and go into Windows and libraries, wherever they are, here they are, my brand new libraries that I've just created will be there. Here it is. It's on top, presentation. So boom, the image is there, right?
Incredible. So, it's so fast. It's crazy.
Absolutely. I mean, if you double click on it, it's faster and it gives you like the little wow effect, which is always good to see. And here we can now, thanks to this amazing contextual toolbar, add things to the image even more by using layers. So if you bring up a layer, how many minutes do we have?
We got about 8 minutes.
Okay, perfect. I need to slow down because that's when I start to like talk too fast. So here we have the name of the file that we have added. So we have our little image that we downloaded from Firefly. And what we can do, we can start to do more things here. One of them is to select our subject if we wish to do so. Oops, by clicking on the right layer, not on an empty background. So if we select the correct layer, which is our image, and we go ahead and select subject, as you can see, the object gets selected right away, and we can mask it as in any other mask. We can like edit the mask and make everything that we don't need disappear. And then maybe we can just simply go ahead and create another layer underneath, or I don't even think that we need to create a layer. If I go ahead and click Command A, Control A, and then I just simply go into the generative field, leave it blank, and click on Generate, we're going to have a background. Now, this background, that's why I probably should have put a layer, because the background now is going to go on top. Anytime that you use the generative fields, it adds a layer on top. The reason why I was adding unconsciously, I was doing the right workflow. If you had it below, so yeah, this is just absolutely mixed. But if you add it below the layer, and we select this layer, and we do what I was doing before, which is to create generative field, to create like a random background, is now going to place it behind. So all I was going to do is to try to create like a random background and show you really where you can take your images, and your imagination is the limit.
It really is. Yeah. It's kind of crazy. Even just the select subject that you just added to in there, you know, it's the technology continues to get better and better, where that is like the norm now, you know, being able to select a subject with that much detail. I mean, you really only have a little bit of his hair and his hands to clean up, but
oh yeah,
that alone used to take hours to cut out, you know?
Absolutely. And I'm sure that if I go in this selection and I further like use something like the object selection tool, it probably just by clicking and dragging on that piece of information, right, I think it already sort of like clean it. See, I think it's already further cleaned it for me. So I could literally go and all this white is already gone. So maybe I can like invert the selection and delete those little bits of images. So the tools are there. Is you learning the tools and understanding what they can do for you in order to make your work faster. Refining your mask is just the last thing that you have to do. But just to show you how random this is and the amount of things that you can do, any selection tool will work in Illustrator. I'm going to go ahead and choose the lasso tool. And what I'm going to do here, okay, so that's so random. Every time that I do a composition, James, I have to add a cat. For some reason now it looks like this person is feeding a cat. So why don't we add a cat here? Like we have this like a sleeping cat and pretending it's like feeding the cat. Again, make a selection, any tool, lasso tool, marquee tool, whatever way you want, and then you can just write sleeping cat and click on generate.
I'm so curious.
And here we're literally doing the same. We are prompting. So all the exercises that we've done so far inside our amazing Firefly website, we can replicate thanks to this feature, which is called Generative Fill. This lives inside Photoshop Beta for now, hopefully coming out to the main Photoshop app really soon. Remember, if you have just joined Photoshop Beta, oh my God, look at that kitten sitting, so cute.
That's actually pretty cute. I mean, like they're very smiley, huge.
Cute. So really quickly, again, like imagine if I'm talking about the cat, the people we should feed cats more, and I want to create a dynamic image for my presentation that displays a graphic that interacts with the image. Like I've done it, and all I've done is literally think it, type it, and transform it into pixels, just so incredibly faster.
Now, so in that case, let's say you were satisfied with that, could you make that cat smaller, or because it's fit to that space, that's sort of the size that you have to stick with?
Perfect question. So the way that it works, as I was mentioning before, so I'm just going to go ahead and hide the layers. And as you can see, it just sort of fills in the whatever is around your little cat. So there are ways to go about it. So what I will do perhaps is just start to look at the image and start to refine the image there. In this case, the first thing that I will do is to select the sleeping cat, head back to my best friend, which is the object selection tool. Boom, the cat selection is absolutely done. And I'm going to go ahead and separate the cat. So I'm going to press Control J to duplicate just my selection, which in this case, we finally just have our little kitten that is isolated. And then we can use the same selection, Control on the layer to select it. And let's see, because I believe that kind of change, see, the background here is changing. So if we just add the cat over there, it still kind of looks good. I think it could still look good, and you can manipulate it. Otherwise, you can use what we mentioned before, which was that content selection, the content feature, to actually fill that specific space. So if we move back before to the selection of the cat, let's say that the background didn't match, we can also use this amazing feature, which is the content aware fill. We first rasterize this image here, the layer. We can go ahead and use the content aware fill to adjust the background. Oops, making sure that we don't delete it in full, and adjust the background so there is no mismatch. So if there is any edge or any part of the cat that was there, as you can see, just sort of fix it for me, so I can undo it, make sure that the background is nice and clean. And now I can move the cat. Oops, wrong one. I can move the cat and just sort of like do whatever I want with it, make it smaller. Cool. And if you're wondering what happened to our lovely illustration that was mixing with it, well, it's still there. We just hidden it because another amazing feature of these tools is that are non-destructive. So as you can see, you can do so much with it. And here we can replace the sky. We can add presets. There is so much more that you can do. So I really encourage everybody to go have fun. This is the stage in which we are all learning. I'm trying, we're all experimenting. So go and have fun, because that's the way you learn best. At least that's what happened to me. And I hope that everybody can enjoy these amazing tools and have fun creating.
Absolutely. Well, Kladi, thank you so much. I mean, you always inspire me when I'm listening to you speak, when I'm on these Adobe Lives, getting a chance to host you, vice versa. And again, like you said, it can't be reiterated enough. You know, the Creative Cloud suite Adobe products are meant to enhance that creativity, spark that inspiration for you out there, whether you're a designer, artist, photographer, filmmaker, just whatever you are and whatever you want to create, it is possible here inside of Adobe Creative Cloud. So Kladi, thank you so much again. And I think we're just about out of time here. So for those that tuned in, PJ, Seda, Cody, Lisa, all the gang here over on Behance, thank you for tuning in to join us. If you missed this stream, head on over to the YouTube Adobe Creative Cloud or Adobe Live YouTube channel. Subscribe to the channel, follow us for more tips. And one thing I didn't mention today, if you'd like to nominate yourself to be on Adobe Live, to be a creator, give your expertise, your tips, please nominate yourself or nominate a fellow creator. And make sure to stick around, as the Adobe Firefly Weekly is an interactive session using Adobe Firefly. So if you didn't get enough from Kladi's session today, stick around right after the stream to check it out.
Thank you, James. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Kladi. Take care, guys.
Ciao.